Hi everyone, Dani here. Welcome to Spenelli Speaks. Hello and welcome back to another video where I talk about Edward Rutherfurd's London. Today is going to be an exciting chapter because it is one of my favorites. Now, if you are new here, this is a series of videos that I'm putting together where I summarize the chapter that I have recently read. This is a reread for me, so I'm going through all of the chapters and telling you a little bit about the plot, setting, and characters within. Hopefully this helps you out if you're struggling through the book, as it is a hefty load to read, or just wanting to know a little bit more about one of Rutherfurd's books. I highly recommend them. Now, today we are talking about chapter 2, which is Londinium. This is a Roman-occupied London, so very interesting stuff happening here. But let's first talk about the setting. Now, this is happening in 251 AD. And again, it's Roman occupied. So we have a lot of Roman influence here. We are starting to see structuring of the city, building of a bridge. We're seeing that gladiator pit, that kind of thing is happening. So very interesting. And the plot revolves around our characters and their illegal creation of money, which was very common in the time. People would melt down different metals, put in a little bit of silver, put in a little bit of gold to make it appear as if it is a full silver or full gold coin. And it is also very illegal. So our characters, our main character being Julius, who we know is a descendant of Segovax from chapter 1 because he has the white tuft of hair and the webbing in his hands. He is about 18 years old and he is working with an older gentleman who is his partner in this illegal mint. And that person's name is Sextus. Now, these two men are actually pursuing the same woman, Martina. However, Martina is married to the mariner. We never get a name for the mariner, but we know that he is quite a jealous one. He's off to sea often for his vocation, obviously, but comes back every once in a while and starts to get an inkling that there might be something happening. It is a hilarious cycle of events when it comes to this love square, and without giving too many spoilers, let's just say there's a little bit of death and a little bit of luck. And if you look at the timeline, you know exactly how that ends. Anywho, let's get back to a few of the plot points. So not only are Julius and Sextus creating these illegal coins, but the centurion and the soldiers who are kind of in the area and are looking for these illegal mints, they catch them kind of and are on hot pursuit of Julius, but they don't quite know who he is. They kind of got the tail end of him running away. So he knows that they are suspicious of him. At the same time, he is trying to pursue this Martina. So there's a lot of heat around him, and he has to be very careful of where he steps. And he happens to step upon a very unusual sight later on in a chapter where he actually sees the centurion and a few other soldiers with real gold coins. And they're trying to hide them. So he gets the idea to steal these stolen coins. But through a few mishaps, he misplaces where he saw them last, which is a huge piece of the entire book. If you've ever heard me talk about London, you know I mentioned gold a lot because this is the first instance where we see where this gold has appeared. We know it is lost, it's hidden somewhere, and in each chapter, or every other chapter, there's a small snippet of hope that that person is going to find the gold. And let me tell you, we are going to wait a very long time. But anywho, this chapter is great. It is a very character-driven chapter, which makes it super fun. The love square is hilarious, how that all comes down, and it's wrapped up with a pretty little bow, and it's a lot of fun. Now, what I will say, and kind of referencing back to chapter 1, where I mentioned the role of women, we have a character here in this chapter that you really have to wonder, what is Rutherfurd saying, not only about women, but about this particular character and their features / actions. Julius has a sister who is somewhat of a lookout for their illegalment. She's not a very good lookout, but she's referenced to as the fat girl. And we get a very descriptive paragraph about how big she is in certain areas, how certain pieces of flesh kind of stick out from her, clothing. She is eating a bag of figs that is just dripping from her chin. When she's done with that bag, she puts the bag on her head and uses it to shade from the sun because she's so tired from being so fat. It's very odd, and you wonder, what is the purpose of this character and this description? Because there's not much else that she does in the chapter. In fact, later on, she's helping with dinner, and she's just always so hungry that her hands are always getting slapped from not touching the food. So it's interesting. She doesn't have any other name other than the fat girl or the sister. In fact, the mother doesn't even have a name. Neither one of these people are even on the timeline. It's just interesting. What is Rutherfurd saying about the role of women with these two characters? And to go one step farther, in my Voxer group, where we're kind of discussing the chapters, one of the readers there mentioned, is it possible that this fat girl character is supposed to be somewhat mentally disabled in some way? We weren't sure what he was trying to say with the way in which he described her. So again, I put that question out there. What are your thoughts if you've read or are reading? What is Rutherfurd saying about the role of women? Obviously, we know it is not until the late 1800s, early 1900s that, women's suffrage even becomes something. But what is he trying to say here? Anywho, a little bit of a digression, but an important feature of this chapter. Overall, like I said, this is one of my favorite chapters. One, because the gold, but two, because it's just so character driven. Another thing to point out in this chapter, which it'll come up much more later in later chapters, is we start to see the very pinpoint of Christianity being mentioned. It's being mentioned as kind of like a pauper's religion, poor people religion. So we're seeing like the smallest prick of it being mentioned here. So, but it's important because we're gonna see it really come into bloom later on. But yeah, that is all I have for chapter 2. A very exciting chapter, a very fun chapter. The landscape is definitely changing in London, and I'm excited to see the formation of the bridge, which we will see much more of as we continue through the chapters. So like I said before, if you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell, not only for these videos, but for all of my other booktube content. And, I hope you're reading something great, if not a little bit of Rutherfurd, maybe something else. But until next time, I hope you're taking care, staying safe, and as always, you know how it goes. Happy reading. Bye.